Tennessee This Week from WATE's 6 on Your Side starts now.
Hello and welcome to Tennessee This Week. I'm Bo Williams. We are now a little more than a year away from the November 2026 election. On the ballot, the District 2 Congressional race. It is a seat currently held by Congressman Tim Burchett. Michaela Barnett, though, recently announced she is running for his seat and joins us right now here in the studios to talk a little bit about her campaign and what has inspired her to run. First of all, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a pleasure.
So let's start right out of the gate then. You made your announcement. You're entering this race against Congressman Burchett. First of all, what kind of inspired you to jump in, throw your hat into the ring, so to speak?
Absolutely. So to put it really simply and clearly, I'm running because East Tennesseans right now are hurting. Many of them can't afford the basics, and I think they deserve a rep that's willing to fight for them to have a full meal and a full plate, not kind of guard the tables of the rich and then tell us, hey, you know, this portion of your crumb is a little bit smaller because of whatever group he's decided to demonize that week. I'm running because I think we need real change, and East Tennesseans deserve better.
So you are going up against, obviously, Congressman Burchett, who has been in that seat for several years now, and in each election has won by at least 60 to 65% of the vote. How do you cut into that? That's the big question then.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, when most people find out I'm running, they tell me, you've got an uphill battle ahead of you.
Right.
I usually say it's kind of a backwards cliff face, actually, that you're climbing while bees attack you.
Okay.
The truth is that this is the longest held Republican district in the country, right? Pre-Civil War. He has a very comfortable margin. He has such a comfortable margin that oftentimes he's not even showing up here to face his constituents. Right. We are asking for town halls. We're asking him to be here in person, and instead we kind of get these pre-screened town halls that you can call into only if you've kind of presented an ideological bent. Mm-hmm. I'm running to be someone that will be accessible, that's not afraid of my constituents. The other thing is it's really about turnout, right? I'm running as a Democrat. Mm-hmm. I do have some, problems with some aspects of the Democratic Party, but I believe in the core platform. And if Democrats turn out like we typically turn out in a presidential election, and typical Republican voters turn out like they usually do in a midterm, we can win this thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are really mad and really upset right now. And I think we have a chance to meet people where they are, spend the next year materially helping the people of East Tennessee so that no matter what happens on election night, we'll have run a campaign that's successful and focused on helping people.
Yeah, and let me ask you something here, because you mentioned, there are a couple things, and I think if you ask a lot of people, they'll say, well, there's a few things about the party that maybe I'm not eye to eye with. You did mention that about the Democrats. So is that an area where maybe you can reach across the aisle possibly?
I think so.
And what are some of those areas?
I think so. And, I think one of my issues with Burchett is that I don't see him standing up to the president or to the Republican Party, even at times when it can serve the people of East Tennessee. I'm not someone that's afraid to stand up kind of against establishment Democrats. Mm-hmm. I spent the last year working in Congress in the House of Representatives as a science policy fellow, which was a program getting PhD level scientists into the federal policymaking process. And what I saw in Congress was a lack of bold leadership and creativity, and really kind of saying, hey, we're going to wait and turn things back to the status quo, instead of saying, what's our vision for what happens after this? How are we going to build something that's better for the American people? I think it's time for us to really unify around a bold vision that supports the working class.
Does that kind of go back? I saw an interview you did, I believe it was with the Sentinel, and you said, I think a lot of our leaders in D.C. are stuck in old playbooks.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where you're going with that, what we were just talking about?
I think so. Probably something else you saw mentioned in that interview is there's kind of this sense of we just have to wait this out.
Right, and that was something else I wanted to ask you. You're more of like, there's no more time to wait.
There's no more time to wait. I mean, we see what this president is doing to our country, and also that our Congress has really abdicated its constitutional authority, which is to be a system of checks and balances that the original framers intended. And we have many Republicans in Congress that have just given the president complete power. We know Democrats are in the minority, but folks don't want just little placards at a State of the Union saying, oh, I don't like this. They want bold, demonstrated leadership, which we're seeing in flashes, which I'm encouraged by. But we need unity, we need progressive ideas, and we need folks saying, hey, no matter what, we're going to fight against this overreach, and we're going to fight for the American people and the working class.
You kind of mentioned a couple things. First of all, we've talked about it with Congressman Burchett. He has a strong hold in here.
He does.
But also you mentioned when talking with the Democrats and even maybe some of those that you maybe don't necessarily agree with, the key is to get everyone to turn out.
That's
right? Is that the other challenge here? Is not only just saying, hey, look, vote for me, but also vote for me, but you actually need to go vote.
It's a huge challenge. Tennessee has some of the lowest voter turnout in the country. And I think that part of the reason is that folks aren't always excited about the candidates that we have and the solutions that we're putting forth. I mean, we also have disenfranchisement, we have gerrymandering, we have some challenges to voter turnout. But I think that what we really have to do is make people excited about what we're fighting for, not just what we're against, right? And the other thing I'm thinking about this campaign, it is turnout, but I'm also thinking I want to spend all of my time thinking and acting on making the lives of East Tennesseans better right now, not just promising the things I'm going to do after Election Day and if I were to be elected, which is why I'm planning on hiring a social worker for my campaign to connect East Tennesseans to the resources that they need right now. Because people are hurting and they can't wait, and they're hurting even more with this shutdown.
And I wanted to ask you about that. Obviously, your election, we have an election coming up for the city coming up here soon. So we're talking about a year from now. But currently with the government shutdown, you think even a year from now, we don't know how long this is going to go. I mean, it could end tomorrow, it could go for, who knows how long. How much is this going to, obviously I have to think right now with your campaign, this is front and center for you.
Of course. Yeah. Well, anything that's hurting the people of East Tennessee is front and center for me. And right now, come November 1st, we are seeing that almost 55,000 people, I think, that Rep. Burchett represents aren't going to have access to their SNAP benefits. And what we have right now is we have a member that is saying that this shutdown is happening because Democrats are fighting for health care for illegal immigrants. And I just want to be super clear that that is a lie that's been debunked time and time and time again. What Democrats in Congress are fighting for is for the American people to have affordable health care coverage. Undocumented immigrants, under federal law, they cannot access Medicaid and they cannot access ACA premium tax credits. And I anticipate there might come back and be a gotcha, which is emergency medical care, where anyone going to the emergency room legally has to be treated. That's less than 1% of Medicaid's budget. And in states like Tennessee, where we haven't expanded Medicaid, that's closer to 0.1%. So that's not what this shutdown fight is about. What this shutdown fight is about is that almost 500,000 Tennesseans are going to see their cost of health care increase so much if these premium tax credits expire. And I know the question is, how do we pay for it, right? Burchett talks about fiscal responsibility a lot, even though earlier this summer he voted for a bill that's going to add $4.1 trillion to our deficit. Do you know how much it would cost to pay for the ACA premium tax credits next year if we were to extend it?
How much?
$23 billion. Sounds like a lot, but when you put it in context that Trump wants to send $40 billion to bail out Argentina's leader, it's really not that much to pay for the American people to have health care that they can afford, especially Tennesseans like farmers, small business owners and workers, gig economy workers that rely on this to have health care coverage. I mean, why would we not fight for people to have medical care that they can afford? It doesn't make sense to me, and that's why I want to go to DC.
So is that now between now and next year at this time? What is your strategy? What is your plan now as we're starting to wrap this up here?
Yeah.
Can kind of give us a clue. What are you going to be doing?
Yeah, so my strategy, like I said, is to really come out and meet the people of East Tennessee where they are. I'll tell you, I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican, Independent. I don't care if you voted for Burchett every time or Trump every time. I want your life to be better. So we're going to be holding a series of small group listening sessions around topics that can be challenging, right? Gun violence and gun control. We're going to be talking with federal workers. We're going to be talking about reproductive care and education, and really gathering coalitions to have challenging conversations about the issues impacting East Tennessee. We're also going to be holding town halls. And the other thing that I'm really excited to do is make politics something that is about joy and connection, not just partisanship and division. So we're going to hold block parties and resource fairs and find all sorts of ways for the people of East Tennessee to be connected to their communities, to help where they can, and also receive the help that they really need right now.
And I think that you mentioned something too in one of the articles already. You said in this race, at the end of the day also, you just want to try to make a difference in your community. And it sounds like that's kind of what you're, listening to that plan, that kind of goes along with those comments.
That's right. Again, this is a district that is a long-held Republican stronghold. I think when we look at kind of the national parties, both Republican and Democrat, Republicans kind of take this district for granted, and Democrats don't pay a whole lot of attention to us on that national scale. So my focus is spending all of my time making sure that we're serving and helping the people of East Tennessee so that no matter what happens on that Tuesday in November, we've made a positive difference.
All right, real quick, we're almost out of time, but final pitch. What final words here to the viewers to vote for you?
Thank you so much. My name is Michaela Barnett. I'm a scientist. I am a small business owner, and I am running to make East Tennessee a place that everyone can afford to live.
Cool. On that, we're going to wrap it up. Michaela, we appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Of course,
for
I'm sure we'll
having
be
me.
talking to you again. It'll be a long year, but a fast year.
It'll be a long year, but a fast year with a lot of things happening and lots of opportunities to show up and serve our community.
All right. Again, appreciate you stopping by. Stay with us. We'll have much more of Tennessee This Week in just a moment. Welcome back to Tennessee This Week. At the top of the program, we heard from Michaela Barnett, who is running for the seat currently held by Congressman Tim Burchett. So let's bring our panel of pundits in to talk about what she had to say. Julia Hurley, Michael Covington, and Craig Griffith joining us right now. And first of all, let me get your thoughts on this race. Michael, I'm going to start with you at the far end of the table here. We know, I mean, Tim Burchett pretty much had a stranglehold on this. We have seen he has, garnered 60, 65% of the vote, a little bit more every time he's come up in a race. Can Michaela Barnett chisel away at this over the next year?
She can certainly do as good as Renee Hoyos, the fellow from UT, Harmon, Jane George, just the names that I can remember who've run against Tim Burchett, and they've gone on with their lives because they had no success running against him. Renee got a pretty good job as a result of her run. I would like to think and hope Jane George raised a good amount of money, but it propelled her into a run for the city council. So you go from Congress to city council. I'm just thinking the reasonings why people are running. And we had an excellent conversation, Michaela and I, before we started taping. And she seems like a delightful person. I'm just curious as to why she would want to be in that fray in Washington.
Yeah. And she talked about just some of the things that kind of sent her in that direction. She has spent some time in D.C., but Julia, let me get your 2 cents on this too. I mean, what do you think as far as this race? I mean, we still have a year to go.
Sure. When I was an elected official, people said, "Oh, is your next stop Washington D.C.?" You could not pay me enough to be there. So it baffles my mind that someone's genuinely inviting that into their lives. But it sounds like she's very passionate about what she wants to do and what she wants to try to attempt to achieve. And you can do that across the aisle, but sometimes you may feel like your person isn't doing that. So she's stepping up for those people who feel like they need a voice in that. And I'm happy to see a woman picking up a ballot and running for office. I think that Tim is a different kind of candidate. I remember very clearly when he was running the first time for this seat, one of the things that makes him so endearing to people is he remembers their names, their pastors' names, their dogs' names, previous pets' names, their cousins, uncles, brothers. He makes you feel like you've never been forgotten, and you only have to meet him one time to get that feeling from him. And not only that, but he continuously updates you on what he's doing and why he's doing it. You don't have to agree with it, but he does keep you informed on a regular basis. So I feel like wanting to change East Tennessee, I believe she said she wanted to change it to be a more affordable place for all, is not necessarily a Washington, D.C. conversation. That stuff can be done here locally. But I'm very excited to see women stepping up, putting their names out there, and I wish her the best of luck.
Yeah. Craig?
Well, I salute anyone who runs for public office because it's a difficult task, often frustrating, and she seemed to want to be a breath of fresh air, I guess I would say. Some new innovative programs, different thinking, get away from the old guard ways of thinking. That said, she doesn't have a chance. The way this district is structured, she will win the urban areas, of Knoxville, and Tim will win everything else. So if you want change in policies in this area, that has to come through Tim Burchett. And you have to lobby him to maybe see things in a different light, that maybe some things, the current discussion about health care and the shutdown, he'll find people in his own district that will suffer if the ACA subsidies are stopped. So policy change in the 2nd District in Tennessee has to come through Tim Burchett.
Yeah. And is that part of this, Michael? Maybe, I mean, as Michaela is out there, Barnett, campaigning, getting some of the messages out there, does that then feed back to Burchett, and Burchett kind of maybe rethink some things? I mean, at the end of the day, whether or not she wins or not, is it maybe getting him to, like you said, everything goes through Tim Burchett, like Craig just said, to make some other decisions?
No.
Okay.
Nothing that Michaela is going to discover in her campaign that she conveys or communicates to Tim Burchett is going to change Tim Burchett's mindset about a single thing. He is goal-directed. He is laser-focused. Everything that Julia said, I can sign off on. Personally, he recalls things or conversations that we had years ago, and I still marvel at that. I think it's because we know each other so well, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure Tim Burchett is not a savant in that regard. He remembers your dog, your daughter, everything. He does. He is a consummate politician, and there's no one that has run against him that I gave a chance, as Craig said. We'll see what Michaela comes up with, but Tim is Tim. He's going to do Tim. He's going to be Tim. He's Tim.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, as one of our part-time pundits, George Corder, said, Tim speaks fluent East Tennessee. Mm-hmm. That's why he's able to communicate so effectively with the residents of the second district, and that hasn't changed.
Yeah, yeah. Julie, kind of go along that same. I mean, I know you kind of started this thought process
it is.
here. But
It's East Tennessee is going to be East Tennessee, no matter how many people move here and try to make it a little different. And they may change some conversations. Some things might need to be changed. But the things that she's saying she wants to focus on, I'll reiterate, aren't Washington, D.C. problems to fix. Those things can be done locally with local leadership. Again, getting your name out there. She's a business owner. There are some opportunities for her to get in front of voters, get in front of new people, new faces. There's a way for her to lead here, and taking on a U.S. congressional race is a definite way to get your name out there. And I think that she will lose. I do, and I think that in the meantime, her staying as graceful as she seems to be and focused as she seems to be will put her in a wonderful position to lobby for and be heard at levels that if you weren't running for an office of this caliber, you wouldn't have that opportunity to do. So.
And I know we're still a year away from this, but looking at the current climate, of course, here as well as all across the country, the No Kings rallies that we saw, we still have the government shutdown. We're recording this on Friday, so who knows what will happen, later today after we stop recording, or tomorrow or next week. Well, any of this, how does that translate? I know we're still a year away. Does it translate, Michael? Does it have any impact moving forward here?
None.
And that's not this race. I'm talking races in general.
Races in general. The things that are happening right now are right now things. When it gets closer to Election Day, there will be a different set of things that are on people's minds as they go into the ballot box. Tim Burchett is going to deal with the issues that are before him, and as Julia said, he's going to explain to you why he feels that way. I've been in a lot of those settings where Tim Burchett has been talking about a position that he had on issues that several people in that room disagreed with. But when it was all said and done, everybody had their say, and at the end, Tim Burchett stood his ground on what he believed, and the individuals in the room respected his position, even though they disagreed with it.
All right. Anybody else? Before that, we're going to head to the break. We good? Craig?
We're good.
All right. All right. I want to give you one more chance there. All right. Stay with us. More of Tennessee this week. We got other topics we want to address. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Tennessee This Week. On Wednesday, 4 Tennessee Valley Authority Board of Directors nominees stood before U.S. Senators during a hearing. Mitch Graves, Jeff Haygood, Randall Jones, and Art Graham all gave opening statements. They also answered some questions about addressing growing power demand. And the hearing ended with Chairwoman and West Virginia Senator Shelley Moore Capito saying that she would be asking for unanimous consent for the nominees to be confirmed. She also gave a Friday deadline to submit written questions and a Monday deadline for the nominees to answer those questions. TVA currently, as you know, does not have enough board members to form a quorum following a wave of firings at the direction of the president. And this came after Tennessee Senators Bill Hagerty and Marsha Blackburn wrote an op-ed criticizing TVA leadership. So let's bring our panel of pundits back in. So first of all, Craig, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on the 4 nominees, and I know that we still have, they've got to answer, the questions need to be submitted, they need to answer the questions, but from what we've seen so far, your thoughts on them being approved here?
Oh, I think that'll be
Think they're in, think it's locked? Okay.
Unanimously approved. So there's no question about that. The only question that we have now is to see what direction the board, now that they have a quorum, takes in TVA. And of course, if you read the op-ed piece that Hagerty and the other senator wrote, they are really big on nuclear. And it'll be interesting to see how this new board steers the agency into this new nuclear age, and which everyone says, well, we need all this power to fund AI. So and the other question would be whether will they continue to de-emphasize coal plants. So these are things that we'll have to see answered. But the main question I have, and the main thing I think that every one of these board nominees and soon-to-be board members, everything they do should be focused on what it's like when customers open up that envelope every month.
Right.
Are the bills going up, which they are for electric rates all across the country? We need to have a plan for TVA that either lowers, optimistically, or at least keeps level the rates as much as possible so that the small, lower classes, the middle class, and businesses don't get affected by any changes wanting to pursue a strong nuclear program.
Yeah, two of the big topics, you're right, that came up, obviously the small nuclear reactors that the TVA has been pushing here, but also how much the consumer has to pay. And Julie, I mean, kind of your thoughts on where things stand, anything that you heard from the Q&A the other day, kind of go along with what Craig's saying here? Or?
Well, one thing I can say is I'm very impressed with the fact Marsha Blackburn, even being in Washington, D.C., definitely stays focused on what East Tennessee and the Southeast needs. So her criticizing the TVA board as harshly as she has really stepped open, has pushed open a window and a door for us to be able to replace some people on that board with people here locally in Knoxville, Tennessee. And those people are well known to me, and I think they're well known to a lot of people in Knoxville. I think that will be a unanimous decision, and I think it will be a good decision to move forward. I think that having all of the focus on Oak Ridge National Lab, all of these companies like X Energy coming in, this is something that we can handle here locally. We've been handling here locally, especially with nuclear power. And I think bringing Marsha back into the state of Tennessee soon with that gubernatorial race will prove that leadership and that idea just culminates. So I think that the focus from Washington, D.C. back into Tennessee and then pushing that nuclear power, I would like to keep an eye on coal. I think it has been and will continue to be a very important job creator for a lot of people in Virginia, West Virginia, and Kentucky. So we do need to keep an eye on making sure those communities stay solvent if we're transferring everything over to nuclear power. I think 2030 was the goal in the state of Tennessee. So just keeping an eye on all that, but I think it's a good step forward.
Michael?
Heretofore, I had no idea how TVA was made up. I just knew what TVA's purpose was. In looking at the information that we received to prepare for the program, I came to learn that there's a whole lot about TVA I need to know. For one, I need to know the board members, and the first thing you discover when they introduce themselves is they're appreciative of President Trump appointing them. So we know where their votes and their emphasis is going to be. They're already prepared to do what they need to do. What I learned in watching that was that the senators play a big role in what they do. And the very first senator, the minority leader of the Senate, he had some really harsh criticisms of how the board had conducted, I guess it's licensing or certifications of some kind, and he was concerned that that was going to be a hindrance to providing energy moving forward. So learning what TVA is supposed to be about and making certain that this board does what the president wants is just vitally important.
All right. And I tell you, we're going to have to stop there. We got just under 10 seconds. Thanks so much for coming, as always, and giving us your insight. We're glad you joined us as well, and we'll see you again next week.
The views of guests on Tennessee This Week are their own and do not represent the views of WATE 6 on your side or Next Star Broadcasting.